Okay, so we are building our party invites project system from scratch here. So I have Visual Studio open. I'm gonna go to File, New, Project. Then from here, I'm gonna choose Visual C Sharp, .NET Core, and then ASP.NET Core Web Application. So under the name, it will be called Party Invites. And I will just confirm this. So I'm just gonna click OK. We will be using an empty template. We're not gonna be using this. This will give us a lot out of the box, but it will not allow us to dig deep into each aspect that we have to understand. So empty will allow us to dig deeply and really understand step by step of what we have to set up. So I'm just gonna choose empty. I'm gonna unclick enable Docker, just in case yours is checked, and no authentication. So I'm just gonna confirm here. Now I'm gonna start by modifying. Here's the project. I'm gonna start by modifying the startup file, the startup class. I'm gonna do a few changes. First of all is that right now it's just putting out a hello world. I don't want that, so I'm just gonna get rid of this line. And instead I'm gonna use another line. I'm gonna say here app.useMVC default route. Now, even before this, I should have added MVC to the services. So I will go here to configure services to this method, and I'm gonna add MVC to the services so that I can actually call and use the MVC default route. I'm not gonna go into too much details here, but it's the mechanism that will allow us to type in a URL and the application will know which controller to call, which action to call. This is the default routing mechanism used by MVC. So we have done those two changes here in the startup class so far. I'm just gonna save this. Now we're gonna add 3 folders to our project. We're gonna add the models, the views, and the controllers. So I'm just gonna right click in the project and I'm gonna say add new folder, and I'm gonna create the models. Pay attention to the way you spell this out, it's important. So models, plural. I'm gonna create also the views. All our views will be stored here under this folder. And last, I'm gonna add new folder called controllers. So 3 folders created here. Now I'm gonna add our first controller, which is called home controller. So I'm gonna right click here under controllers folder. I'm gonna say add, and I'm gonna add a new class. I could go straight to controller, but I want to add as a new class because I want to show a few points that we need to be aware of. So I'm gonna click on class. The class name, all controllers, they should follow this format. We have the controller name followed by the controller keyword, the name, it has to be called controller. So whatever you put prior to it, it has to follow controller. Now, our default controller will be called home controller. That's the one that we're gonna be using. So I'm gonna click on add. So here's our controller. The first thing that I need to do is I need to add a namespace here so that I can inherit this from controller. Now the namespace is called Microsoft.ASP.NET Core.MVC. And then we can say that home controller inherits from controller. And now I'm going to create our first action, our default action. The default action of any controller is called the index action or the index method. It's returning a view result, and it's calling, very simple, it's not doing much here, it's just calling the view for this action. Because we have no parameter here, it will be looking for a view called index. We could also do this. We can say index here. But again, if you are calling a view that has the same name as the action, you don't need to use this. So I'm going to create now our index view. So under the views folder, I'm going to click there, and for each controller that we have created the equivalent folder for that controller under the views folder. So under views, I'm going to right click, I'm going to say add new folder, and the folder will be called home, because all views called by home controller will be stored under home. So I'm going to right click here under home and say add view. Our view will be called index. It will be an empty view. We're not going to be using any templates, and we will not be using a layout page. So I'm going to check this for now as well. I'm going to click on add. And here is our view. I'm just going to change the title, and I'm going to put party invites. Let's give this a try and see if we are able to run this. Okay, so as you can see, it ran, and we have party invites here. Of course, it doesn't have anything because we have not done anything yet to our view. Now let's add a few lines of HTML inside the body tag of our view. I'm just gonna paste here, nothing too fancy. I just have a header called party invites. I have a header 2, which I'm gonna explain what this is in a second, and then we have header 3 and header 4. Sorry. So nothing too much here, just a few header tags. And what is interesting here is the view bag with the greeting property. And we're going to define this in a second. Now, this is Razor syntax. View bag is a way that you can transfer information from the controller to the view. And you can use this. And here's what you can do. Let's go back to our controller, to the index action. And let's create a variable called hour. Let's put some sort of a greeting there. The int hour will be getting the current hour of the day, and we're gonna be setting the greeting property, which is a dynamic property. You can put any name you want here. I'm just calling this greeting. And if hour is less than 12, it's a good morning. Otherwise, it's good afternoon. So by doing so, we are populating the greeting dynamic property, and under the view, we are printing it, we are using it. So let's save this and let's run this again. As you can see, because I'm recording this in the morning, I'm getting a good morning message. So again, view bag is a way to use dynamic properties that can transfer information, communicate data, information from the controller to the view.